Hi, this is Hugh Greenwood from the North Melbourne Footy Club, and you're listening to another episode of the #Kangaroos podcast.
Whatever I've been through, the moment I see you, things start looking on.
Welcome to another episode of Dean Vasic. You can follow me on X at #Kangas, Instagram #Kangaroos podcast. Also on YouTube now, just type in my name, Dean Vasic, and you can watch the shows there. All right, tonight I welcome back Jesse Cardinal and Mark. Hello. Welcome back to the show, boys. On what was an exciting finish to the trade period. It wasn't looking too good. I know, Jesse, you texted about 6:30. You didn't seem too happy. Didn't look like anything was going on. But it was a very fast finish, Mark, and we got what we wanted. Are you happy with how it all ended up in the end?
Yes, well, I wasn't. I was on the putting green with my son practicing putting, so I missed the whole that last half hour or so. I didn't see any of it. So I've just got literally just before we came on, I was on X and saw the comments and the result of it there. So yeah, I was very happy with what's happened in the end.
Yeah, no. What about you, Jesse? Now the mood's obviously changed in the last hour. You be pretty happy with what's happened?
Yeah, look, I think we talked about this last week, and it was just you and me, mate. It's been a pretty boring trade period. It didn't get much better. That said, this afternoon, for anyone who watched it, it was on AFL.com. They were showing it, and it was thrilling viewing. And I will actually say it became far more thrilling when Kane Corns and Damien Barrett took over, because it was just dribble, but it was actually very funny. You had player managers rolling into people's rooms, throwing their arms around, acting like they're mafia dons. Yeah, just deals being wheeled in the hallways. Brady Rawlings and the North crew rolled up and got ignored by Paul Connors while he was doing his four-way deal, so he looked a bit sad after that. But look, in terms of the trades made, Sydney, it looks. I know North obviously, originally offered pick in the 60s for Parker. Look, I don't think that was going to get it done. I don't think any of us thought it was going to get it done. I think we thought for a while the pick in the 40s was more fair. If you compare that to a Hodge, a Lewis, a Cats mate of mine today say, well, when they got Isaac Smith from the Hawks, they gave up, I think it was like pick 39 or something, and he was 31. So we get him in. We obviously get the small forward in. He was going to be delisted anyway. That people are kind of commenting on that and saying, oh, well, he's not worth anything. He was going to be delisted, sure, but then you've got to use that pick in the delisted free agent, delisted draft, when we could now use that on one of the other many players who have been delisted who are quality players. There's a lot of good players in the delisted list this year, so happy to get him over the line. Happy to get Parker in for 44. I think that's a fair deal. Adds a lot of leadership, exactly what we need. Caleb Daniel, look, I'm going to be in the minority on this one because I was very big on the show last week in terms of my opinion of him. I thought there's always comments, he's short, he's slow, what's he going to do? We're talking about someone who was an All-Australian player 4 years ago, has been played out of position at the Dogs. He's the vice-captain still. He played every game up until this year. Vice-captain of the Dogs, adds a lot of leadership, is infinitely a better kicker than any other player we have coming off the half-back line by the Flemington Straight. So all of a sudden we have a fantastic kick coming off the half-back line who's a leader. Look, ideally, I wouldn't have wanted to give up pick 25. I think we relented on that one. But at the end of the day, when you've approached a player and you've got him to come to your club, I think you've got to go in on it. And look, sure, 25, it's a high draft pick, but it probably becomes pick 30 plus in this draft with all of the rubbish that's going to go on at the top end. So look, you never know what that's going to take. I would rather get someone into the club for the next 4-year contract, for the next 4 years, who's going to add leadership, because that's what we desperately need. We can't just keep going to the draft. It's not viable.
Mark, do you agree, echo those thoughts? Now, we've got in 800 games of experience. We've got Luke Parker, who's almost at 300 games, 292. I think Caleb Daniels at 192. Like Jesse said, a former All-Australian in 2020, vice-captain of the football club. Fell out of favour this year at the start of the year, but came home strong towards the end of the year. They actually started putting him in his preferred position in the last month and looked like he hadn't missed a beat, to be honest with you. Now, it's a little bit overs, but generally, Mark, when you want to get a player, you have to pay overs, especially if they're contracted, don't you? I know a lot of people are going to be frustrated with pick 25, giving up the second rounder for a 28-year-old, but that's like Jesse said, might be a little bit undersized, doesn't have elite speed, but he's a good general in that back line, and he's a very good kick. And sometimes you just got to pay overs, don't you, a little bit to get the play you want to get.
Yeah, and I think we'll have other players with speed in that back line. I think there's players like Gota, Hardiman, even Archer are pretty quick. I don't think that's a massive problem for us. And there's other players like Fisher that we can throw back there as well that have all got speed. He's not there for his speed. He's there to distribute the ball, to help us get organised, to offer leadership. He's just the third of three premiership players that have come into the side that are all been leaders at their previous clubs in premiership years. And we can't have people complaining we lack leadership all year, and we need senior leaders on the field when things get tough, and we can't stop a turnaround and a run on from an opposition side, and then get those guys in and then say, oh no, we've given up too much. You're quite right. If a guy's under contract for another 2 years, if you either want him or you don't. Now, 25 is slightly overs. I don't have a big issue with that. I think that they know they're going to, I think that it's very likely, and they possibly know that they're going to split pick 2 and possibly their future first to get back in the draft. So we could still end up with 3 guys in the top 15 quite easily, in the top 12 potentially. So I think, and that'll be more than enough for us to take in terms of kids. So I think if we ended up with 2 or 3 gun kids in the draft, plus those 3 senior players, plus a small forward, if someone had told me that 2 weeks ago, I certainly wouldn't have complained about it.
No, that's true. I mean, Jesse, are you worried about the draft hand a little bit now? Now, teams don't like obviously can still trade draft picks right till the draft when it comes up, so there's no issue there. Are you still worried that or there's a big gap between 2 and 62 because teams are going to sort of sit there and be thinking, oh, well, we're not just going to give you 2 picks in 10 or 12 or something like that for number 2. We're not going to give that away. Are you worried about the draft hand at all at the moment?
Oh, look, I think that we will end up splitting 2. I think that, look, as I said, I'm all in on Cal Daniel, but I would have nice to have keep 25. It would have been nice to have got a deal done by now to split that pick, just so we know it's there. Look, they're calling this the best draft since, and probably for a while before. I mean, the best draft is the Sam Walsh, Bailey Smith, Connor Rozee, who else was in that one? Rankin, Lukosius. It goes on. That one's the King brothers. So that one's a super draft. This is the second best one they've said is in a long time, and it bats deep. It bats very, very deep. Now, ideally, you would end up with, and I've seen North fans go, oh, well, look at the Tigers. They're going to rob the draft. Yeah, but they've given away 3 of their players. Of course, they're going to be able to do that. That's what happens. It would be like us giving away 3 of our good players, maybe not your top tier, but 3 of our good players. They've lost a fair bit. So, look, I ideally would like multiple picks in the top 20, 25, ideally. I think we will split pick 2. I've got a feeling that someone will be hungry, maybe a Melbourne, maybe a St Kilda for one of those top tier young mids who make up the top 5, and that they'll end up striking a deal. I think it will just happen. If we are forced to take pick 2, there's 2 kids in particular who I think we need to go for. One is Harvey Langford. Now, I think the Tigers are going to take him with their pick 1, but he's 190 centimetres, plays forward, plays mid, but can also play forward, kick goals, bit of a Bontempelli mix. The other one for mine, who they've got out at pick 6 at the moment, is Sam Laylor, who 187 midfielder, but he takes a grab. They've described him, Dusty Martin like in terms of the way he goes about it. Injured a fair bit, otherwise I think he would have been top 3. He's probably the one I would take because he can obviously play forward if we couldn't get a deal done. But look, I'm pretty confident we will get a deal done. I'm hoping it's not for 2 picks in the 10s. Ideally, I want maybe that Richmond pick 6 and then a later pick. That gives us access to those, Harry Armstrongs, Tauru, the key position players that we're really after. So look, I think we'll end up getting a job done. To Mark's point, there's obviously a lot of conjecture around what do we do with the pick next year. It's a much weaker draft, but look, I think we said last week we're probably going to finish bottom 4 next year. We probably will, and the top 5 in a draft is always good. There's not ever a point where the top 5 in a draft are bad. So even if we do take our first round pick through to next year, realistically, that's going to get us a good player, in my opinion. It will get us a good player either which way. Now, if we can get a good deal for it, then go ahead and trade it. But I wouldn't be trading it for unders. And I still think that we could trade into the draft this year. I think I said before we joined, we haven't diluted our future picks in terms of our future second, third, fourth. They'll be worth something. There's a lot of players next year who are academy, father sons. Clubs will be going for them, and they know that the point system changes, so they'll want those future seconds and thirds because they're worth a lot more, well, a lot less than they were before, but they can't be going and getting 20 picks in the 40s now. That's worth nothing. So they have to kind of get some more pointy end ones. So I still think there's an opportunity for us to trade back into this draft. I don't think we'll go to it with just the 2 picks. So ideally, I'd like to have a better hand, but I think we will end up with a better hand.
No, look, we'll wait and see how that goes. But Mark, I got Jesse's thoughts on Jack Darling. We'll go back to the start of last week. Now, the club were very keen to get him in. That was an easy deal. It was one of the first trades. Now, Brady Rawlings did say that he wants to have him for the next couple of years to develop that next key forward, which might be a Finbar Malley, till he's ready to take his spot. Are you happy to have someone like Jack Darling into the club?
Yeah, I am. I think I think we actually looked better structurally in that after the bye when we had the extra tools in there with Larky, and albeit they weren't up to standard. Although Teakle showed a lot of promise and Pink was trying hard, but he, getting someone of Darling's quality in, albeit in the very late stages of his career, and people need to remember he was playing a third, fourth fiddle role in the West Coast forward line for the last 24 months. More of a defensive role, hard running role. He wasn't there to kick goals, and he still managed to average more than 1 a game. So I think he's going to be a step up from what we've had, and is obviously going to be great. And he's going to be basically a key forward coach on the ground, working with our VFL guys as well as our AFL team, both at training and on ground during games. So I can't see any need. We gave away nothing to get him. He's a step up from Toby Pink. No offence to Toby, he's been a very useful pickup, but I find it hard to think anyone would argue that that's not an improvement to our forward line. And certainly structurally, it has to help Larky.
Well, I think that's the whole idea. We haven't had a replacement or someone to help Nick Larky basically since we traded away Ben Brown a number of years ago.
Which helps Cam Zerha as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we're seeing the benefits of Cameron Zerha when we've had a Toby Pink and a Bryn Teakle up there, taking the 4th defender almost. So, yeah, that's what we're certainly hoping for. Now, there's an odd player out here, Jesse, that we didn't know much about. We did till he came in the last hour. All of a sudden, this Jacob Costanzi or Costanta or whatever however you want to say. I don't know much about him. He was small.
I've got it for you. Don't you worry. Don't worry, Mark. I missed your whole last answer because there's a trade radio video that came up, which is Damo, Kane, and Kaltumi discuss was North Melbourne's trade period a success. Hell is frozen over. Kane thinks it was good, and Damo agrees. The only one they don't agree with.
Can't be right.
The only one they don't agree with is Jack Darling. They've got big question marks on that, but they really like getting in Parker and Daniel. Even earlier, Kane said, "Look, I think 25's over," and Damo said, "Yeah, but if you're going to go after that player and that's what you're looking for, you got to go in on it." So, they asked Cal at the end about Jacob. He said, "Small forward, hard-working, high pressure, loves to tackle. Just hasn't been able to get a look in at the Swans with their Papley mix." They've taken a punt on him. He was going to get delisted anyway, but there was a lot of clubs interested. So they said, it's worth a punt. The one thing they said is, North, you've brought in Jack Darling, Luke Parker, and Caleb Daniel. What do they all have in common?
Premiership.
They're all premiership players.
Yeah.
So they like it, and they said at the end of the day, we've also gone to the draft with pick 2. So we've brought in 3 experienced players with all of the kids we've had the last few years, and Kane made the point you can't just keep going back to the draft. And we retain pick 2, so we're still going to get someone at that top end, even if it is a midfielder. So
Or split it.
yeah, or split it, which I think Cal is alluding to. I think he thinks we'll still be able to split it as well. So
He said today he was very confident we'd do a deal with Richmond today.
yeah, he tends to think that Richmond, because he raised a really good point today that I hadn't thought about, which is with Richmond, they're going to bring in a lot of players this year, and it's maybe too many to bring in on the same length of contract. You got to go through the same terms with all these kids. They may want to split that between this year and next year, so they may look to trade some out for picks next year. But also, they may want to get to the more pointy end and give away some of the, the middle of the top round picks. So yeah, there's some real opportunities here. But yeah, look, in terms of what I've read about him, Cal Toomey, said that he was pretty rated, highly rated in his, in his draft year. Was injured for most of 2023 apparently. I'm not sure what the injury was. Someone would have to find that one. But look, here we go. I've got his draft profile from when he was taken. Arguably the best defensive forward in the crop. He manically applies pressure inside 50, creates opportunities for himself. He kicked.
Not many.
Yeah, he's mostly just they love him as a defensive forward. But you know what?
Too many goals.
Yeah, they said he doesn't always kick goals, but he averages 6 tackles in the 14 NAB League games he played. You know what?
He's a young Turner.
Mate, the problem is who else tackles in our forward 50? Him and Jack Darling, they brought him in to just play tackles. Yeah, look, in terms of the analysis they did on him, though, they said clean hands, evasiveness, smarts, tackling, work rate. They said what he needs to work on is his consistency and his conversion. Now, look, they said they actually had him. So I'm on central.rookieme, which is a good draft website. They do a lot of analysis. They said they didn't expect him to push much further past pick 15. They highly rated him. So, hasn't got to look at the Swans, but too bad they've made 2 grand finals in the time that he's there, and then was injured for an entire year with something that I can't find what that is at the moment. But
yeah. No, he looks all right. I've just looked at his VFL stats. In his last 9 games, he averaged 4 tackles per game.
Yeah, I like it already.
Yeah. And he kicked a few goals. Only kicked like 12 this year, but there's a few games of singles, a couple of doubles, and a triple early in the season. So I think, Mark, it's not a bad gamble because obviously we're the worst team as far as tackles inside 50 last year. And to get Jack Darling and this Costanti, I mean, it's a bit of a lottery ticket, but who knows? It might pay off.
Well, that's a point we've missed. We haven't mentioned about Jack Darling. He's famous for his inside 50 tackling, and we haven't had a big man tackle in our forward 50 for probably a couple of decades. So I agree with you. I think both of those players bring that, and that is something we desperately need. And let's face it, we're crying out for small forwards. So we're going to have a few throws at the stumps with small forwards. I doubt if I wouldn't be surprised if another one comes in before the start of next year as well, whether it's via the delisted preseason draft or even we might draft a young kid who's a small forward. So if we do split pick 2 or even move on our future first, so the gut feel is that they seem to be very focused around, and Parker aside and Daniel aside, there seems to be a lot of talk around Toru and the small forward area in terms of what they want to develop, listening to the guys talk in the lead up to this. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the draft. But I'm happy with what we've done today. I think they've balanced it well, and the risk is pretty low. I mean, we've got this guy for nothing. And as Jesse said, means we still can use our first pick in the preseason draft. So, I don't think there should be too many North supporters that are disappointed tonight.
Where does this leave those 3 uncontracted players, Jesse? Do you think they're all done now? I think with Luke Parker, spend a bit of time in the midfield next year. That might leave Lazaro out. This Costanti. That might lead to Blake Drury missing out, and even a Cooper Harvey. Now we've only got 2 picks, so there will be list spots available.
Did I? I think I read something today. Peter Ryan finally confirmed that we do have the extra 2 draft spots or rookie
That's
spots.
correct. That is correct.
Yeah, so we've kept that's
We've got
been
7 spots in total available on our list.
yeah, so that's been
Um,
retained from last year.
yeah, when I say we've got 7 spots available, that's assuming the 3 guys in limbo don't get picked up by us. So if we kept all 3 of them, we'd only have 4 list spots, and 3 of which we've already, 4 of which we've taken now.
Well, yeah, I'm not
So
too sure how many go.
I don't, doesn't.
Like, is that counting rookie list as well? I'm not too sure. I don't understand.
It
Like,
does. It
Jesse,
counts
do you
rookie
understand
list.
this rookie list? What's the point of having it? I mean, it just seems
Yeah,
like you
look,
might as well just have a list spot.
hmm,
It seems pointless having
yeah,
rookies.
look, it
None
used
of
to
them
be
are
more
rookies that play
defined what
anymore
the
anyway.
difference was. No, look, it used to be more defined what the difference was between them, but that's changed a fair bit. I mean, realistically now, it's not any different. It is what it is. The only thing that's different is your Cat B. So, a basketballer or something like that. It's pretty much exactly the same now. Because remember, you couldn't play rookie listed players unless you had an injury. Do you remember that? And you
Yeah,
had to be
that's
on the
right.
injury list.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's gone now. So you can play them.
So you might as well just scrap it.
So look, what does it do? Realistically, I mean, what do we? Look, it's going to depend how many players. Let's just say we don't split for a moment. So we take 2 players in the draft. All right. So how many players did we already delist?
5 and 2 retired, so that's 7.
Okay, so
Is that right?
we've got 7.
Yeah.
So hang on, who are the 5 we got rid of?
Curtis Taylor,
So Greenwood
Biggie Moore.
retired, Shields retired, Newen, Curtis Taylor.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Geez, Mark, you got any idea? Who'd we get rid of?
Don't forget we brought in Teakle and the small forward during the mid-season draft.
Yeah,
So.
but
Hamish Free,
wasn't
Tyler Sellers.
Taron Thomas came? Taron Thomas dropped off the list this year as well. Or drops off now. He was still on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah,
We
that's
couldn't
right.
remember. We weren't allowed to take a. Yeah, so there's another spot. Look, let's just say we only take the 2 picks at the draft. Realistically, we're probably going to take 1 or 2 with our pre-season with our other draft, as in your rookie draft. But as I said, there is a lot of delisted free agents this year who I think are worth a look at. Yeah, I think that there is some players and some real value there. So, look, in terms of the 3 guys, I think I said last week Drury probably doesn't make it for me. I think he's gone. Lazaro, I think Lazaro probably goes.
Yeah.
They might get rid of all 3. I've got a feeling they'll keep one. It'll be one of Lazaro and Harvey, but they might get rid of all 3. It wouldn't shock me if they got rid of all 3.
I reckon they keep 1 max.
Yeah, no more than 1. That would shock
It'll be
me.
Harvey. Harvey would be the only one they might keep, I reckon. But that's
So we
no
did.
certainty. It's no. It'd be. I think it'll be tough to keep any of them now.
Yeah.
We did delist 4, like Sellers, Free, Curtis Taylor, Biggie Ewan, and 2 retired. And we've bought in. Well, we've bought in 4, have we? Yeah,
Plus
4 now.
plus Teakle and
Yeah, that was mid-season, so they're already on the
yeah, I
list.
know, but it's. I was told today we only had 7 spots available.
Okay, so yeah, who knows?
Which,
Yeah, no,
which makes it very hard for those. Which makes me think we'll take 2 or 3 in the draft, and that could be it.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we've only got the 2 picks at the moment, but yeah.
Well, plus River Stevens is sitting there as well. Don't forget.
But is he this year or next year?
Apparently, he's going to be
year.
rookie or something.
Well, people are saying they think he'll be rookie, but yeah, I mean, that's the most likely. But
But I mean, there's
not many spots available. That's for sure.
But there's a lot of delisted free agents who I think are worth a look at. Like at the moment, you've got Gallant, who we had a lot of interest in. You've got you've got Caleb Marchbank, who got delisted by Carlton. I mean,
Yeah, he's not a bad player. He's just
No,
injured all the
just
time.
injured a lot, but maybe worth a nip. I was going to say Nick Hind. I think I said him last week, but that was before the whole him being friends and bringing a murderer into the room
Yeah, I think that pretty much rules him out.
came
Yeah,
out.
no, I think he's done.
Matt Taberner, if his body can hold together. Gary Rowan still looking for a contract. I mean,
No,
I'm
He
not.
must be listening.
I'm
he's
not.
43.
Gary Rowan or Matt
Yeah,
Taberner?
yeah, well, both, but Gary Rowan's definitely.
No,
He's
he's same draft as
he's that
Cunnington.
old. It's not funny.
He's been about 33, 34 years old. So
Um, so there's a couple players there who I think would be worth a go at, and I think a lot will get taken up. So there's some options there. I think, and more players will be delisted now that this has gone ahead. So, we should know in the next few weeks who's available. I think there'll be some pretty quality players available. So look, there's an opportunity to improve, but yeah, for the guys who are on there at the moment, at least two go, if not all three.
yeah, we'll see how we go. Now, what do you make of the whole Dan Houston situation there, Mark? It seemed like Port Adelaide were pretty much just using us as leverage, sort of saying, well, North are offering a future first. You've got to offer more on the table. In the end, I thought they took the worse deal. It was clear to me, Mark, that Dan Houston didn't want to come to North.
Well,
Otherwise, he would have
yeah,
come.
well, it's interesting. Davies was on Radio SEN this morning and said that North's offer was less than what they got.
I
So
find that hard to believe.
I think he was just trying to pour a bit of cold water on it. But I was very suspicious of that. That doesn't sound right. But yeah, I think we were just potentially being used. But we had a crack. I've got no problem with that at all. At the end of the day, he asked to come to Melbourne. If Port were going to play hard, then if he was that desperate to go to Melbourne, I think Port could have played hard and we could have ended up with him. I clearly think Port had decided he's going to go sooner or later anyway. Let's just move him now. This is the draft to get the value. So that I think they blinked, clearly. And because I think he was saying to them, well, if I'm not going to Collingwood, I'm coming back.
Hmm.
And they went, oh, shit. Well, that rules North out, so we're going to have to do a deal with Collingwood. Because they'd already made up their mind. They were moving him on. They worked out how they could cover him, and they were thinking to the future and thought they need to get in this draft. So, yeah, I'm not blaming Brady for anything he did there. I thought there's no reason for us not to have a go at him. He would have been very useful. But I wouldn't lose any sleep over it either way.
What do you make of it, Jesse, while I got you here? Your thoughts on the whole Dan Houston situation? You didn't seem too happy from what I've seen on X.
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty obvious that was never going to go through. And like even Port confirmed it today, his preference was not to come to North. They used us as leverage, and then we were used as leverage again because we went after pick 13 and Port Adelaide. The only silver lining out of this whole thing is we screwed Port Adelaide twice.
Yeah.
We screwed. Well, that's effective. We screwed Port Adelaide because we went after there was that whole deal that they didn't like, and Kane Corn came out afterwards and said Port Adelaide have effectively they're a lock for the 2025 Sandful Grand Final because all they've brought in are Sandful players, and that it was embarrassing, and he was hating it. They pretty much crumbled, and they took the deal that they'd been offered 24 hours earlier because we went hard at pick 13. So look, he was never going to come to us. If he had come to us, it would have been amazing, but for everyone that's disappointed, we're not going to attract talent.
No.
We talked about it. You look who we've brought in. We've brought in players towards the end of their career and players who are struggling to get games at other clubs who play a role. None of the blokes we've brought in, I'll put Jack Darling aside for the moment, but if you look at Luke Parker and Cal Daniel, people are comparing them to Zach Fisher, Dylan Stevens. This is a completely different thing. These are players who are absolute stars, all Australian players who we're bringing in to play a role. This is not just throwing the ball at the stumps and hoping for it. So, look, he was never going to come. So it got our excitement up. There was no point in doing it. Did North waste too much time focusing on that? Who knows? But at the end of the day, silver lining, we screwed over Port Adelaide. So it made them get a really crappy deal. So a little bit of a revenge for the past. Just quickly, I brought up Cal Toomey's 2022 Phantom Draft, and he had Jacob Constancy at pick 16 in that, and he was a big fan. He was the only player he got wrong in the top 20. So, that's probably a good sign.
Well, yeah, hopefully. I mean, I've seen plenty of other players. I think Dylan Stevens was pick 5, Jesse. So, yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean if you're a prospect that they rate you in the top 10, top 20 doesn't automatically make you a good AFL footballer. He's still unproven. He hasn't played a game, so the expectation's got to be low with him. But, yeah, I mean, he fills a need at the moment. So we can certainly try, give him a try and see what happens. Yeah, like you said, it's a free throw at the stumps. And, yeah, if it comes off, fantastic. If not, well, you move forward, don't you? So, yeah. Mark, Brady Rawlings now, he came in for a lot of criticism over probably this whole trade period till the last hour where he redeemed himself. Where are you sitting with it now? I mean, obviously a couple of deals that went through today, maybe a little bit overs on Luke Parker, but it's not a bad deal in the end. I mean, pick 40 odd, there's no guarantees there. And even pick 25, there's no guarantees there. So you get 2 established players. Do you think Brady Rawlings redeemed himself today?
Well, I think the strategy from the club, and that's probably come from Viney and Clarkson, was we need senior players in here, find them for us. And he's brought in 3 pretty good ones. They're 3 premiership players. They're leaders from other clubs. They're going to be best 22, I think. I know people will argue about Darling, but I think they'll be best 22 clearly for us next year. And we've still got pick 2, which we can split. He can do something with our future first, so we could potentially have 2 or 3 players still come through in the draft. I think he's done a great job. People were getting upset because they were stressed out going into the last day and then the last hours and nothing was going to happen. I tell you what, if we didn't get Parker or Daniel, that they would have been tearing the club down. So I think overall most people are happy. I know I can see on X now that people are still screaming about pick 25 and now we're going to take a mid instead of a key forward that we need, etc. I think the draft will work itself out. I think he did a good job, and he doesn't do this in isolation. The club's involved with these decisions at the most senior level. He doesn't lock himself in a room and refuse to speak to Clark or Viney. They know exactly what's going on. They make a decision what they think it's worth to get Parker in, to get Daniel in. He didn't give up pick 25 on his own. But he would have articulated, this is the plan. We're probably going to pick, I've spoken to Richmond, this is going to happen. We'll end up with 2 picks that'll give us a chance to get these players. So I think strategically it looks pretty rock solid to me. I haven't got any complaints with what he's done.
What about you, Jesse? You're sort of happy with how he sort of came good in the last hour. It was a bit strange with Caleb Daniel as well. He decided to request a trade with 1 hour to go in the trade period. It left it a little bit too late, but better late than never, I guess.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure he was having internal dialogue before now, obviously saying, yeah, I'm interested in going. I think it's just externally coming out and saying it because a lot of players were and looking like idiots. So, look, I'm sure he was putting some pressure on. I'm pretty sure he was keen to get there. Yeah, look, I know, to the point, that Mark made, people are complaining about it, but it's done now. What's the point? He comes into the club, he joins, he adds experience. I can see Brady on Trade Radio said that they put a high value on bringing in a rebound defender this year. I wonder what that says about some of the other rebound defenders that we have at the moment. So, yeah, look, pretty keen to get him in. It all seems a little bit funny, but I'm sure that it made sense behind the scenes. Look, Brady said that they've been talking to Caleb for a while. So,
Jesse, you just raised a really good point there. So just get what you just said that I'm interested in about what does it say about our other rebounding defenders. So let's take McKercher out of that.
So McKercher moves up the ground. I think that's obvious at this stage.
Yeah.
So who played halfback for us this year? Okay,
Fisher.
We've got Hardiman.
Zach Fisher. So Zach Fisher, we had Tucker play there at times. Hardiman, Goda got injured. Dayot, Bergman was injured half the year as well.
So really, the criticism there is Tucker and Fisher, isn't it?
Realistically, yes.
Yeah. They're the rebounding defenders, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think one of the things I said last week is that if you look at half back lines at other teams, we need a half backer who is an elite kick, who can break the line and get out with their kicking. On the other side, you can have one who can run both ways and defend. You can always have one attacking. And I don't think Caleb Daniel's a terrible defender. I don't know what all these people are crapping on about.
No, he's all right.
You can't win a flag and play in 2 grand finals if you're a crap defender at halfback.
He's a great ground ball player. Fantastic.
Yeah, so what it does mean is it doesn't they can still play McKercher at times off half back, but it means that we don't have him and Fisher running off the half back line, both wanting the ball, just running forward with pace. You've actually got someone who can break the line with their kicking, as well as someone who can break the line with pace. Or it means that a Goda can play the other side and play more of a defensive two-way role. So I think it gives us a lot more flexibility. I think it gives us a significant amount more flexibility. It adds leadership down back, which we desperately need. You'd assume that Parker will play a little bit in the midfield and a little bit probably up forward. So he'll add leadership around that side, and then Darling we'll see. But look, it's going to be interesting what the team makeup will be. But yeah, it says a lot for mine around Fisher. I think we talked about it last week. I think he has to play forward. I think he has to play a pressure forward role. He's not he can't defend, and he isn't a great kick. So I'd rather him up forward because he's got pace.
Yeah, well, what do you think about that, Mark? Now, I spoke to Jesse about this last week with Zach Fisher. It's obvious McKercher can push up the ground, whether it's midfield on the wing, or I'd like to see him on the wing, to be honest with you, as an outside player, kicking the ball inside 50 rather than rebounding 50. But Zach Fisher is the odd one out because he has played a lot of football, well over 100 games for Carlton, playing as a small forward. Do you think that could be a transition for him next year with Caleb Daniel coming into the club?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think, we'll see over summer if he starts training with the forward group, it'll become obvious quickly. But I don't think he's got many options to play down back. That said, there's not a lot of speed out of the back line once McKercher goes out. So I think you either have to have Hardiman or Fisher playing in the back line. Tucker's not that quick either. He's not slow, Tucker, but
All right.
I think Fisher or Hardiman will play, or Goda. Sorry, Goda will probably come into that side as well. He could actually take McDonald's spot, Goda, but so there's a bit of competition down there. He could play forward. I mean, they've got Payne, they've got Hanson Jr., and now they've got the Sydney guy. Can't pronounce his name. Constantby or whatever it is. So they've got three small forwards there, and then you could add Fisher in. I'm not sure if any four of them will end up making it, to be honest. They're probably hoping one of them can crack through, but there'll be certainly competition for spots down there. But yeah, I don't know if he's any better off playing the small forward role as he is down back, given he wasn't a massive success in that role with Carlton, but he was reasonable. So yeah, look, they might have to try that.
All right, I've got some pressing news as well from one of my close mates. He'll be my groomsman at my wedding. He is very good friends with a girl who is very very close to Cooper Harvey, and he says his intel is not worth keeping at all.
So he's not staying.
No. Well, apparently he just doesn't give a fuck about being a football player, and I'm going to quote that directly. Apparently, he just has no interest in playing AFL football.
Oh, he's got to live up to his old man's.
Well, I shot back a message to him and said, "So too much of Shane Harvey, not enough of Boomer."
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah,
that can happen. Just the pressure of his old man.
Yeah, look, the only reason I bring it up is because it's actually not the first time I've heard it, and I think I might have said it, or one of the guys might have said it once on the show a while ago, which was that I watched him as a junior. He was a great mark above his head. He got injured a lot, broke his arm. Yeah. That's a shame. But he was a great mark above his head, and he was a good kick. But if you watch him play at VFL, I don't see a player who wants to be an AFL player. I see a player who's happy being out there. And I've heard a lot of different things on socials before, just saying people who have interacted with him, he doesn't seem like the type of player who has matured and takes it seriously. But yeah. So look, if that's the case, regardless of whose his father is, you'd be moving him on because at least if you're going to keep one, at least Lazaro cares and trains and cracks in.
Yeah. So Drury.
Well, yeah, exactly the same. Drury's maybe a little bit like Jack Marnie. Might try, but I think the height and the speed and the other attributes probably.
Yeah, I think that's true.
AFL standard. Yeah.
Mark, what do you think about the whole trade period? Now, I got Jesse's thoughts last week. He said it's far too long. It seems to drag out far too much. Too many rumours. It's trade by media. There's no surprises, really. I think the Costanti one was probably the biggest surprise of the trade period so far, and he's just a fringe player that's probably going to get delisted. I mean, it seems like teams just wait till the last hour or 2 hours before they get the deals done. It seems like it's far too long, doesn't it?
I think it's pathetic. It should go. The media coverage should be 3 days. They can talk to each other as much as they want in the lead up. They can have the deals already done, whatever. I suppose the AFL are worried that it'll just leak and there'll be no information at all comes out during the actual trade period. But for a week and a half, it's just at least get rid of last week. At least make it just 3 or 4 days maximum. I can't see the value in it dragging on.
Nah.
We went day after day with nothing happening, and just these stupid things. Who's the best draft pick in 1992? I mean, it's just people, and then all people do is complain about how boring it is. So it's just, and then you get to the last couple of days, and it starts to get exciting. I don't know why they just condense it into three or 4 days.
Yeah. I mean, you could just leave it for another week and then just do it in 3 days. Most teams have got they're already talking anyway. It's not like they start talking on the Monday and just finish
that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's my view. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shit show, isn't it, Jesse? At the moment, like it's just it's
just a waste of all their time
and nothing happening.
No, there's too much time now. They have too much time to think about all these different things. I mean, we saw what happened. For anyone who watched it this afternoon, we got through to this afternoon, and then everything happened. You had player managers storming through the hallways, yelling at different recruiting teams, and trying to get everything together. And it's like, what are you guys doing for the last the last 2 weeks? Plus,
a lot of
before
it's
that,
embarrassing too. There's bluffs that don't even work. I mean, Geelong held out right till the end, but ended up getting what they were always going to get. North were always going to bloody play pick 25 for thing. Parker was always going to be in the mid 40. It was always going to happen, these things. They just left it to the last half hour for no good reason. It's almost a bit pathetic. But anyway, it is what it is. We got what North got who they were after and probably gave up what they thought they were going to give up. And the other teams took what they thought they would end up taking. It's sort of even Port Adelaide saying, we're pulling out, the board doesn't like it. And then the next day we'll change stuff. I don't know. Just a lot of the stuff that goes on doesn't really work in terms of the tactics. And then that's why it all gets squeezed the last few hours because they just end up back where they started a week and a half earlier.
Look, and it's funny, and it's bad for the players as well. Like their whole future. I'm reading the thing from Luke Parker because they've grabbed him on Channel 7, and he's beaming. He's really happy, which is good to see. And he's like, he was pacing around the house, phone in hand, didn't know what to do, twiddling the thumbs. Well, there's 10 minutes left to go in the trade thing. It's like, what a waste of absolute time. It's an absolute waste of time. I will say I do find it a little bit funny that the Dogs have put out a thank you tweet about Caleb Daniel and a welcome to Matt Kennedy, and there's nothing about Bailey Smith, so that might be some bad blood there. It's funny as well, that podcast that Comden's on.
Yeah,
Charlie Comden's on when he's on there with Sam Draper. Remember, Draper got sanctioned because he said on the thing, if Bevo's still there at the end of the year, McRae, Smith, Daniel will all be gone. Well, look who's going to be.
Say that, didn't he?
He said all three of those names. Imagine who's going to be laughing tonight.
Well, they spoke the truth and got suspended.
I know, right? It says a lot about that. But no, look.
See, I think that's a good thing from our perspective because Daniel, for a long time, has not been happy with what's been happening there. The guy is an All-Australian Premiership player. He can play.
Well, you've just got to look at Dunkley. Dunkley tried to get out of there for 2 years in a row. He tried to get out of there to the Bombers. The Bombers didn't want to pay. And then he got out there to Brisbane and won a flag. So, played in two flags.
Played a big part in that flag too.
Yeah. Fantastic. One of my favourite players, one of my favourite non-North players of all time, even when he was at the Dogs. So I really like how he goes about it. And any bloke who gets overlooked by a team as a father-son and then wins two flags against them, that's the type of player I like. Yeah, that says a lot about the Dogs. But look, it's not like we're just bringing in players who are rejects from other clubs.
No.
We're bringing in legitimate leadership, and I think there's a lot of frustration on social media about the pick 25 and not being in the draft now. And I think we can just keep.
There'll be more
players,
frustration if we won 2 games again next year. That's for sure. I
No,
think this gives us a chance to win a lot more games next year.
I guess, Mark, there was a couple of key areas. We wanted leadership, like Jesse's just sort of said, and we wanted to bring in players that could apply forward half pressure because that's what we really lacked in, and to play a forward half game. I suppose we've ticked those boxes, so you'd have to say it's a pretty successful trade period.
Yeah, I think we had to make a transition from a side that was just trying to avoid losing by 100 points
Yeah.
to a side that can be competitive most weeks. And I think that was going to be difficult without bringing the experienced players in. And then it was going to be difficult to keep our good young players if they didn't start experiencing what winning was like. So I think they've made the right decision as a club to bring these guys in. I think it gives us a chance to win over 4 games next year at least. And I think that has to happen. And that's also part of keeping players like LDU even next year, let alone McKercher and got these guys going forward. Dursma and all these guys that they need to see where the future's going as well. These older guys will help them learn how to win in under pressure. And I think our supporters will see that next year. I think I'm not going to make any bold predictions about where we'll finish, but I think we'll see dramatic improvement in how competitive we are as a result. And we'll start to see a lot more growth. And I think, it's been a good decision by the club, and I think they've backed it up well with Brady getting those guys in.
Now, I mentioned to you, Jesse, last week that getting 800 games of experience will probably give us an extra 2 or 3 wins next year. Now, we had 3 this year. I expect it to at least double that next year, which will be 6. I'm even thinking we may even get to 8 with the quality, as long as they stay fit. Look, this is what they had.
Absolutely.
I mean, do you think the same way, or do you think a little bit differently?
Look, I'm probably tempering my expectations, but that's probably after a consistent amount of what we've been through.
Pain.
You hear a lot of experts from other clubs, like even who's the West Coast player? He's a commentator out west now.
Schofield.
Will Schofield. Like he is absolutely all in on North being an absolute powerhouse in the next few years and just winning bulk flags because of the amount of number 1 draft picks. I don't think it's as simple as that. We've seen that before, but it does need to tick at some point. You bring enough talent in and they all tick. You need to move forward, and we've gone and addressed the need to bring people in. These people are hard trainers as well. They're going to come in and set some training standards, and Luke McDonald might be shocked, and some of the leaders who are there at the moment. But what you need to be a leader and to be a hard trainer in another club. So I think they're going to bring in training standards, leadership. That makes us better. I think Kane Corns said that he was expecting if we got Houston to get 6 wins this year and then push top 8 next year. I think it's probably, if we went from what we had this year, if we won 5 games next year, I'd be happy. If we got 5 games next year, I'd be, but showed signs in the others, not been blown away for the other, 15.
See, I think
you can get lucky with
we should never have lost that Collingwood game, right?
No, so we could have won a couple more this year.
If we had that experience in the side that night, we would have won that game, which would have given us momentum to win even more games in that back half of the year. I think that's the difference it's going to make. And I think Dean's right. An extra 3 wins is the minimum that'll bring. Plus, don't forget the natural improvement from another pre-season until
100%. Plus, you're going to bring in another 1 or 2 this year. Even if even if they take pick 2 to the draft, even if they do it, they're going to bring in someone who will play 99% will play round 1 and will come into the team and take the spot of someone who shouldn't be in the team, regardless what position they play on the ground.
We just need we need a Cherry and a Combin who went up massively from 23.
Yeah, 100%. You need them to stay at the same level and bring and 1 or 2 more to do the same.
That. Exactly. So if we can find 2 or 3 that take a jump like that, Cherry went to almost all Australian level, and Combin wasn't that far behind as an intercept defender at one point in the year. 2 more players make that sort of jump, and then you're suddenly very competitive.
100%. Yeah, look, I think it's a real good step in the right direction. I think it makes us infinitely better. It will make us much better than bringing in a pick 25 or pick 30, whatever it will end up being. So I think we
had 5 kids in the top 20-odd last year. I mean, seriously, how many more of those do we need?
Well, that's exactly right. You can't just keep picking kids. Now, You can argue that we picked too many midfielders, but that's a completely different problem. We need to address the key position. I'll say forward more than back.
I
We
agree.
need to still address that, but there's other ways of addressing that. If we win 6-7 games next year, or we somehow do a Hawthorn, there's no reason why we can't all of a sudden attract a key forward to the club.
No.
But
They might take Toru. Oh, forgive me if I've
we might
mispronounced his name.
reach. We might reach.
They
Yeah.
might take him even with pick 2, this Toru.
They might. They might. They absolutely might. They might take Armstrong with 2. Who knows what they'll do? But yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities. But there's other ways of bringing. I think the other thing is, yes, you want to bring in tall forward from the draft, but hey, the Cats don't draft anyone; they just steal them. You become good enough, and that's what you can do. So there's other ways of bringing in key forwards, and there's no reason why we can't bring in a decent key forward later on in the draft, or a decent key forward in the rookie draft. I mean, that happens, and there'll be someone around.
Even Teak will look promising, and he's coming in the mid-season draft.
Well, that's the thing. There'll be definitely someone. Yeah, there'll be someone. Well, he might step up next year and be really good.
That's right.
There's definitely going to be people there who are worth a go. And with no disrespect to your Toby Pinks, Biggie Newlands, who I think are defenders, to be fair to them, I don't think they're forwards. I think they're defenders. I think we'll be able to find players who have started to show stuff, and we can get in that pre-season or mid-season drafts that are coming up as a forward. That will just happen. So there's going to be other opportunities to fill that gap if we can't fill it this draft.
And Jack Dallin gives us some time, so that's makes sense.
Hope so. If he's good enough. Probably still a few question marks on that, but we'll see how we go. Mark, did you want anything else before I let you go?
No, I'm a relieved North supporter tonight.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are. What about yourself, Jesse? Besides being relieved, you got anything else to add?
No, I just want to know what numbers we're giving them. What numbers we're giving Luke Parker and Cal Daniel. I might just give a middle finger to some of the people who are being a bit sooky tonight and get Cal Daniel's number on my back. might do that one. I probably prefer Luke Parker's. Maybe I'll get Cal Daniels.
Yeah. It depends what does Blake Drury, Charlie Lazaro, what do they wear?
Tell me who the last player in our team who was as good a kick as Cal Daniel is, other than Harry Sheasel. And probably Cal Daniel is a better kick than Sheasel in terms of because it's a longer, more accurate kick. But it's
a pretty good.
I tell you what, Parker would be a very good player to have kicking for goal outside 50 for us next year. He's got a booming kick.
Yeah, shooting at goal, Parker's a great kick. So yeah, look, we've addressed leadership all over the ground as well. It's not just one spot.
No, that's right. Yeah. Well, Mark, it's been a pleasure. Now, it looked like it was going to be a very short podcast, around 6:30, with only talking about Jack Darling for about an hour, but it's come good in the end. Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, mate. Always enjoy it.
Jesse, always a pleasure, mate. And yes, we'll chat soon.
Yep. I'm excited now, mate. I'm pumped. We're gonna forge forward into this draft. We're gonna screw someone over, get multiple draft picks, and we'll be winning the flag next year.
Yeah, look, finals at least, I think so. Yeah, and thank you to all you lovely listeners as well. Don't forget, check out the show on YouTube, like and subscribe, leave comments, push that notification bell as well. Talk about how good Jacob Costenti is. I'll probably be back tomorrow previewing the women's game coming out on Sunday against the Bombers. Big rival game that is, so look out for that. Until then, bye for now and go Roos.